Focus more on the practice rather than the theory, hoping that looking at this practice, at the phenomenon of ras, as it is generated, as it is shaped, as it is experienced, will generate more feedback from you on the theory. So given the time constraint, more on the practice today. Ras, known more widely as rasa, is a notion of aesthetics and performing arts found all across South Asia and also in Southeast Asia. Literally juice, essence, or flavor. Scholars have typically discussed rasa as aesthetic pleasure and transcendent bliss in the context of elite performing arts, art for art's sake. While my early interest began in that context, given my own immersion in the classical arts, Indian arts, my focus in this paper is on a vernacular genre from the Sikh sacred song tradition. In my ethnographic study of Sikh sonic worship, what caught my attention was how much ras was part of the everyday vocabulary of Sikhs in relation to their experiences from Kirtan participation. In addition to aesthetic pleasure, ras was used to refer to a fundamental spiritual technology, to the taste of divine union, and interestingly also to the ritual grocery offerings from congregants. In this paper, I investigate ras in its embodied, enacted, and embedded dimensions, in particular its musical generation, transmission, and circulation, and thereby explore its ontological registers and epistemic potential in the experiential body. Bringing into conversation Heidegger's notion of being in the world and worlding with recent notions of distributed agency, cognition, and subjectivity, as also multisensorial integration in perception and the social formation of the senses, I explore how the musical expression and experience of ras enables multiple temporal and spatial moves, engendering a particular knowledge of self, community, and the divine. Sikh Kirtan is the singing of canonized scriptural song texts, Shabad, and is performed in diverse musical idioms, including North Indian classical and light classical forms, popular Indian styles, and even cross-cultural popular styles in the manner of world music. I will talk of the AKJ style mentioned there in most of the paper. Sacred lyrics are common to all, as is the valuation of ras. But musically, they have contrasting aesthetics, an important factor of which is the degree to which performers elicit participation by the congregation. Since rasa has typically been analyzed in the classical arts, let me provide here a short listen of Sikh Kirtan in the classical style. Irrespective of the particular style of Sikh Kirtan, the musical generation of ras takes place in what I call a Sikh affective ecology. By affective ecology, I mean an ecology of affect mobilization and contagion in which certain affects not only become emergent, but are sustained over time and across events, and thereby develop significant affordances. In describing the Sikh affective ecology, I emphasize it as multisensorial, with human and non-human agents playing significant roles. Central to the Sikh affective ecology is the spiritual preceptor, the Guru. Guru refers contextually to the 10 human Sikh Gurus who founded and shaped the faith tradition, or to the Sikh scripture, Guru Granth Sahib, in which their teachings are enshrined in the form of their song texts, or to the divine Vaheguru, or to all collectively. The three bear some phenomenological continuity, being experientially comprehended in overlapping ways. For devout Sikhs, the unblemished divine spirit dwells in all forms of the Guru, and the primary scripture is their manifest body, Pragat De. Devout Sikhs thus comprehend the scripture as a living Guru and prefer to its pages as ang, that is body, part, or limb. Sikh congregation worship occurs typically at an open house, public place of worship, Gurdwara, literally doorway to the Guru. The Guru Granth Sahib is the presiding entity in the Guru's Darbar, literally court, majestically enthroned center stage on a dais, endowing it with the same respect and authority due to royalty. The enrobing and staging of the scripture is an elaborate process, one in which singing, listening, seeing, touching, and moving all come together in an experiential engagement with the Guru. At a Gurdwara, upon entering the sanctuary, worshippers walk up a center aisle towards the Guru Granth Sahib and pay their respects by bowing on all fours to touch their forehead to the ground, a gesture of submission to the Guru's wisdom. They typically place an offering of ras or groceries or money for the free community kitchen that is part of almost every Gurdwara. They proceed to circumambulate around Guru Granth Sahib, pausing again behind the dais to bow their forehead to it. Along the way, they give a tip to the performer of Kirtan on the side stage. And we'll see the contrast with the genre that I'm going to analyze. And receive in their cupped hands the sweet sacrament, Parshad, a moist pudding made of equal parts of wheat, sugar, and clarified butter. As they sit down cross-legged on the floor, they eat the prasad with their fingers, rubbing the excess butter on their hands and arms, and even faces and beards, for those who have beards, though napkins are increasingly replacing this practice in urban areas. Then the congregants enjoy the worship in progress, which is primarily sonic, with the chanting and singing of scriptural verses forming a good part of it. At the end of the worship session, congregants proceed to the communal kitchen, langar, for a free vegetarian meal, also eaten with the fingers, though again increasingly supplemented with eating utensils. The cooking is typically done by volunteers, as is also the washing of dishes and cleaning up of the kitchen. Thus, a Gurdwara experience is one in which auditory, visual, haptic, tactile, olfactory, gustatory, gestural, and kinesthetic sensations are all enjoined. It is with this coming together of the senses and mobilization of affects that congregants listen to and sing along the sacred songs in a kirtan session. Musicking, its ras experience, and epistemic resources are thus not only oral and oral phenomena, but informed by multiple sensory modalities and their integration in perception. While most Sikhs participate in this affective ecology to some extent, a distinctive community of Sikhs known as the Akhand Kirtani Jatha or AKJ are particularly committed to the memory of their Guru through the embodiment of instituted articles of faith. Their Kirtan style is particularly distinctive for its long sessions ranging from a few hours to all night without interruption of the sacred sound with any other speech or activity. Of the various styles of Sikh Kirtan, I found the emphasis on ras to be most pronounced in the AKJ style. One of the strongest statements about ras in the AKJ genre came to me from Amrit Kaur Khalsa, an amateur singer who accompanies her husband, Zambu. In Akhand Kirtan, one becomes drenched, bij jaidai. I will now use a series of clips of a recording of a Kirtan performance to show the musical generation and circulation of ras and explore its meanings for the participants. This performance of an hour and a half was part of an all-night session of Kirtan and embedded in the larger structuring of ras experience that night. So my focus in showing this is to show that shaping of ras. In these video recordings, I want to draw your attention to three aspects of AKJ Kirtan that are particularly important for distributed agency in the generation and circulation of ras. As my interlocutor Nirmal Jyot Singh Khalsa firmly believes, ras cannot be produced, it just happens. In AKJ Kirtan, while the core ensemble is formed typically by 2 members, the ensemble gets extended to the congregation, which sits next to and behind the lead performers. The ensemble joins the congregation to sit facing the sacred scripture and the overhead projection of sacred song texts. The AKG ensemble seating arrangement means that the musicians also face the ras, the grocery offerings from congregants, that are taken to the community kitchen on the premise and used to make prashad, the sweet sacrament, and the langar, the sacred meals, that are served open house to all, irrespective of social differences of religion, race, class, gender, etc. Thus, the ras in the prashad and langar becomes linked to the ras in the sacred word. Both need to be tasted, savored, and ingested to gain a knowledge of the divine, and both require an ethic of overcoming socially constructed differences. The open house ethic of the Gurdwara and all its services become linked to the ultimate ethic of the divine, that of non-duality. A knowledge of the divine is therefore created through a coming together of embodied and affective multisensorial sensations that connect to divine ethical attributes. And here I want to say that I'm not painting these Sikhs as like ideal human beings, but rather talking about the ideal and how ras is shaped to experience it. The second aspect is the musical sound, which moves through cycles of increasing intensity, culminating in the chanting of the divine name, Vaheguru. With successive cycles, the tempo increases steadily. That is, successive cycles begin at a slightly higher tempo than the previous ones and also end at a faster tempo. Additionally, these cycles are embedded in an overall larger cycle of build-up of energy and relaxation. The third important aspect is the themes in the song lyrics, which aim to shape affect towards a desired goal. Couplets from other songs are interpolated time and again to intertextually intensify affect. The themes of successive songs are often chosen so as to form a cyclical pattern. This overall cyclical pattern of the session envelopes the smaller cycles in each song, adding another dimension to the experience of time and space engendered by the musical cycles. The first video clip we will watch here and here is 2.5 minutes long, and it shows the segments of the first cycle, which lasted about 8 minutes in the actual performance.
ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਿਸੰਦੜਿਆਂ ਦੁਰਮਤ ਵੰਜੈ ਮਿੱਤਰ ਸਾਡੜੇ ਸੇ ਹਾਂ ਟੁੰਡੇਂਦੀ ਜਗ ਸਭਾਇਆ ਜਨ ਨਾਨਕ ਵਿਰਲੇ ਰਸ ਰਸਾਲ ਰਸ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਰਵਈਆ ਰਸ ਰਸਾਲ ਰਸ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਰਵਈਆ ਹਰ ਕੈ ਰੰਗ ਰਤਾ ਮਨ ਗਾਵੇ 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 ਰਤਾ ਮਨ ਗਾਵੇ
clip, things have warmed up quite a bit, and we see an example of what I term call and response reversal, since I want to show distributed agency, where someone in the congregation initiates the Vaheguru chant and the lead singer follows. There are also call and response shifts from the lead singer to the drummer. In the next clip, we see an instance when the call is initiated by the tabla player who's ready for the Vaheguru chant. He starts playing open hand strokes to indicate his affective need, and with the interjection of pita, pita, drank, drank, the congregation launches into an ecstatic Vaheguru chant. The lead singer is moved by this increased energy and diffusion of Har Ras, that is divine Ras, to introduce a couplet from another song that speaks more explicitly to the ethical realm of Har Ras, infusing the congregation with sensations of divine ethical attributes. As the performance progresses, the singer moves to themes of courage and valor and the Sikh ethic of saint soldier. For AKJ members and many other Sikhs, the embodiment of this ethic is enabled by the initiation ceremony known as the Amrit Sanchar, literally transmission of the nectar of immortality. The experience of Amrit is deeply related to Ras for the AKJ Kirtan participants. My interlocutor, Simran Kaur Khalsa, tells me the most powerful experience of Simran for me is on Vaisakhi occasions when those who have taken Amrit join the Kirtan. They come into the room led by the Panch Pyare. Everyone stands up. If any among them can sing, they lead the Kirtan. In that Simran, the Amrit just comes into my mouth by itself. I can taste it. It is sweet. Adherence to the 5 articles of faith has not been easy for Sikhs in India and in the diaspora. In post 9/11 America, the turban and beard have become the face of terrorism in the name of religion. Sikh males with turbans and beards have continued to face hate acts from school bullying, hate speech, vandalism, and physical assaults to fatal gun violence. My interlocutor Pratpal Singh tells me, if my son has Veer Ras, school bullying will not crush him. In the next Kirtan clip, we see a moment of peaked Veer Ras. The singer evokes a deeply poignant memory of injustice of the killing of the last human Sikh Guru's 4 sons, followed by a rendering of the Sikh battle cry.
Baba
intense experience of Veer Ras, the performance turns to Prem Ras, the Ras of love. Singing of being struck by the divine arrow of love, the divine is described as beloved, friend, and wise. The performance ends on a note of hope and comfort, thus completing the entire circle of themes, moving from peace and love to truthfulness and courage, returning back to love and security. The affective contour interacts with the musical ones. The multiple scales of rhythmic cycles engender embodied experience of multiple temporalities and spaces, inducing an expansionary feeling. These are heard in song lyrics as references to Anhad, meaning limitless, and Amyo, meaning immortality, attributes explicitly understood to be that of the divine. To conclude, my purpose in this paper has been to ethnographically investigate the phenomenon of Ras in Sikh sacred musical culture. This exploration points to Ras as a complex experiential phenomenon that resists ontological simplification. Ras is physical, emotional, psychological, and cognitive all at once, and Ras has immense epistemic productivity. It enables embodied memory and affective imagination to come together for renewals of self, community, and the divine. Ras ventures beyond detached aesthetics to issues of community formation, survival, and flourishing, and the ways that the sacred and secular inform each other in shaping the ethical and political aspects of our lives. Importantly, the epistemic productivity of Ras is engendered not through rational arguments, but intuitively and holistically through the experiential body. As a concluding listen and look at the inculcation of the Ras experiencing body, I draw your attention in this 20-second video to the young child in the mother's lap.
Piya, 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 piya.